Hey, Jason, thanks for having me today.
No problem.
I'm doing awesome. It's Friday, of course.
Well, I see you got a brand new album out, and how has it been doing so far?
It's been doing great. The response we've been getting is really, it makes us feel good because, putting an album together is not something that happens overnight. The whole writing process, pre-production, and actually going into the studio, it took us, I think, about a whole year for that process. And so, now it's kind of like, pat on the back every time you read something good about it. So
That's great. And, from what I've heard from the album so far, I'm definitely looking forward to hearing the rest of it when I get it. That's for sure.
Oh, you don't have the album yet?
Not yet. Actually,
for you then.
What's that?
It's probably in the mail for you.
Oh, actually, I don't have my address. I don't think you ever got it, but we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get back to the main issue, which is about Scarlet Sins. So continue. Are you one of the founding members of the band, or how did everybody come together like this?
I started the band about 4.5 years ago. My best friend passed away, and as you can imagine, it was a really tough time in my life, and I turned to music like I always did.
Wow.
So I decided that I would do something with my life and not let her death be in vain, and I wanted to put some meaning to it. So I started writing all these songs, and slowly but surely I started finding the band members that I have today. I found Sylvia first, and as soon as I heard her sing, I just knew I had to impress this girl. So we hooked up, and we bonded pretty quickly. Tanya joined the band about a year after that, and I'd known her from growing up back in Ottawa, where we're both from.
Okay.
And then when the three of us hooked up, we decided we would do an album. We didn't have a drummer, so we hired a session drummer to do the album while we looked for one. So I'm happy to say Ellie joined our band about 7-8 months ago now, and it's been great. I'm really proud of the album.
Yeah, and it sounds really good. The people I've kind of introduced your band to, I've always said that it sounds like a female Nevermore.
That's cool.
To me it does. I mean, it sounds really, really good. Like I said, I mean, you definitely have the influence of, I could tell, like Doro Pesch, for instance, and I noticed that you actually met her.
Actually, that's the funny thing, because Sylvia was the only one in the band who knew who Doro Pesch was.
Wow.
Probably because everyone told her she looked exactly like her.
Yeah.
But
I agree with that.
The funny thing is, I never heard of her until we did a festival in Seattle back in September called Firebox. And Dora was one of the headliners, and we were watching her from the side of the stage, and I just couldn't get over the resemblance between her and Syl. So after the show, we got a picture with them side by side, and they look like sisters. It's hilarious. But Dora put on an amazing show.
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah, it was really an honor to share the stage with her. Sure.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, it's a really a fresh breath of air. Like I said, to have a band like Scarlet Sins, because back in the '80s, of course, when she was definitely the mellow queen of that era, and it seems to me, there's not a lot of female bands out there. I mean, there's female singers, but as far as a female band, that's very a rarity, especially in this era.
Yeah, I have to agree, and to tell you the truth, I can't think of a female band that I've ever been into or listened to. I mean, I'm influenced by Metallica, is my favorite band.
Right. Oh, wow.
Yeah, their first 4 albums I listened to over and over again.
It seems like you were brought up right.
Well, you know how I got into Metallica? I actually, when I was probably around 11 or 12, I shoplifted a tape for theirs. And shoplifting was a game back then, stupid kids.
Yeah, exactly. And so you get caught, right?
Well, yeah, because I think CDs were pretty new at the time, so they had this new security feature on CDs. So the easiest thing to steal was tapes. And there was a Metallica tape sitting in the CD section, so I'm like, I'm going to take this. I never even heard of the band, obviously. I was only 11. And yeah, that's how I got into their Black album. And then of course, like every other Metallica fan who discovers them at that album, you go backwards. And then you're like, holy shit, this stuff is great. So yeah. But yeah, Metallica.
Well, like Master of Puppets and Ride the Lightning?
Master of Puppets is my favorite album.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Love it.
Yeah, I noticed on your page it said that you were influenced by Metallica, of course, and I think I saw Alice in Chains. Is that correct?
Yes, Alice in Chains, the whole the grunge era that they were in. Yes, I fell in love with that vibe, the vibe of that band. I also grew up on lots of classical music.
Nice.
So I really liked. Do you remember I remember in the 80s when I was growing up, my mom used to do chores and listen to Hooked on Classics.
Yeah, I remember that actually.
Yeah, the cheesy stuff. Yeah, so that I guess that's where my first foray into almost neoclassical style came in, because that stuff was the neoclassical music like Yngwie Malmsteen and all that.
Oh yeah.
Some of it was borderline cheesy, like Hooked on Classics, but some of it was so awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm a huge Yngwie fan too.
Yeah, I can actually tell that, actually. Believe it or not. Oh yeah, I can tell it a little bit, but it's not like insane crazy like he does, but I could definitely tell.
That's cool.
But I mean, that's where a lot of, believe it or not, that's where a lot of heavy metal bands came from, is that classical era.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with classical, of course, like bands like Iron Maiden and even Judas Priest and Black Sabbath. I mean, that's where that's like, to me, like the godfather of heavy metal.
Oh
that era.
Black Sabbath for sure. When I think I was about 15 when I discovered Black Sabbath, and they just blew me away. Definitely. I can never get tired of War Pigs. Iron Man, yes, but not War Pigs.
Yeah, especially when Dio was doing it, right?
You know what? This is the funny thing. My favorite Black Sabbath song is actually Heaven and Hell.
Nice.
Yeah, it's that solo, the guitar solo, and the key change in the middle of the solo. That's what hooked me to that song. But I actually love Dio.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah.
I actually met him during whenever he toured with Doro back in 2000.
Oh, cool.
And
I heard he's really nice.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy. He really is. He's short. But yeah, he's a nice guy. I met him briefly, because actually at the time I was more interested in meeting Doro, believe it or not. But at that time I was more interested in that. But anyway.
Well, she's a lot hotter than Dio, that's for sure.
Well, I've been a bigger fan of just not because of her looks. I've just been a big fan of her music for a long time. So of course when I met her, I was like a little kid. I'm like, wow. But anyway, so now the band is from Ontario or Toronto?
Well,
because according to MySpace it says both. So
yeah, we're based in Toronto, Ontario. Ellie's actually from Montreal, Quebec.
Oh wow.
Yeah, she had made the move like the day after she graduated high school. She moved here.
Oh man.
Yeah, it was awesome.
She doesn't look that young. I mean, she looks young, but wow. I didn't think she was that young. What's the age group of the band?
The average? Oh, I don't know.